Hey everyone, Johnny Struggles here with the Last Starship Playtest Update 2. We're going to do a tutorial today for the Developer Create Ship mode and explain how to make a basic ship in this creator here. Alright, so we jump right in, we got all this information on the screen. You can ignore most of it. So what I like to start with is just the basic shape of the hull. So go down the structure here, you have all these options. The main two things to build your ship are the hull, which you use to build the external wall of the ship and any internal walls. Interior is used to make all the flooring. You can ignore the thing that says floor, that just alters the tiles. And then cable and pipe for electrical lines and pipes. So let's just do this for right now. Hull, we'll do something simple. We'll just draw a big rectangle or something. Let's see, we'll do like that. It shouldn't be too big. Draw ourselves a nice rectangle. Nothing fancy, we're just going to do a basic shape here to make things easy. Alright, so now we have an exterior wall. We go to interior and click and drag this entire space. So now we have the floor set up. Now if we wanted to build any interior rooms, we'd use the whole shape again and just draw it through the middle here, like just like that. I'm leaving two spaces there for a door because doors take up 2 squares. Okay, and that's it. We now have a basic ship. Pretty easy. So I like to do basic shapes and then I'll add curves and stuff later. So one thing is, by default, when you click on hull, you get a square. If you press the R key, you get the different angles. Now, unfortunately, you can't click and drag at an angle. You can still do like this, which doesn't help you much. Click and drag with the right click, opposite click to delete. But if you press R over and over again, you rotate the angle around and you're back to a full square. Okay. So next tab to look at is equipment. So equipment is all the items you can put on your ship. This is our pre-built, and what we need is engines. So these don't give you any faults. You can place these anywhere. You're supposed to place them in there's certain rules to place these objects. But in this game mode, you can put anything you want anywhere, basically. But we're going to try to follow the rule here. I believe like this and this is what's required. I'm going to put 2 engines down there. And we're going to want some thrusters to be able to turn our ship easily. Put one here, there, and there. And this is how they are supposed to be installed, with the edge on the hull and the inside on the interior squares. So we got that. Now we need some reactors for power. So there's 2 reactors shown on the screen, the fusion reactor and just reactor. If you're just starting out, just use the reactor. It's easier to manage for right now, and you can get into a fusion reactor later. The difference is a fusion reactor provides more power for less space it takes up. It does not consume the same fuel the reactor does. It consumes deuterium, but you have to start it differently to get it going. Okay, so we're just going to install 2 reactors. It's way more than enough of what we'll need. And then batteries. So we'll install a couple batteries. We'll install 4 batteries, because why not? Swing around the match. Press R to rotate objects. So R rotates things around. Okay, so we got reactors for power, battery for power storage, engines, thrusters for mobility. Now what do we want? We want a fuel tank. So I always like to install a medium tank, at least 1, sometimes 2, depending on the ship size, for a fuel tank. I actually want to rotate this around so the dot right here for the pipe that connects to it will line up with this one here. Okay, and then we need a loader to load fuel into that tank. So here's the loader, and this blue circle is where they put the canisters. I want to turn that around to face the doorway. Alright, so let's install some pipes. So pipe, go to structure, click on pipe, and you can just click and drag these items here. The pipe turns yellow, matching the color for the items for. So in this case, yellow is fuel. Go to our medium tank. This needs to hook up to the 2 reactors here, to the yellow circles on them. We'll just connect this here to make a circle. Not required, but as long as you have one line connecting, it'll all be fine. So the idea is here, when you have fuel canisters, they'll load them up on the loader. it will add fuel to the tank and also everything else in the chain. But if the canister runs out, you should have fuel in the tank and then another canister can be loaded versus this canister will sit here. Sorry. If you don't have a tank, when you put a canister here and it runs out of fuel, you have to wait for a crew member to come and put another canister on. And in that time, the reactor could run out of fuel and you'll lose power. Engines run out of fuel and you lose thrust. Either way is bad. So, all right, so we got that basic setup done. So we need some cables to plug everything together so the reactors will supply power. Just click and drag this across. It'll connect everything inside of it. Or it runs over. I'll just put a line on the outside of the ship here. Why not? Connect these thrusters together. And the engines. And tie them in with the reactors. And you can see when you highlight the cable, everything connected on that line is highlighted. So right there you can see everything's connected. Everything's going over the pink dots. So everything's plugged in at the moment. So we have most of our ship already done. What's next? Life support. So we go to equipment. We need to put oxygen into the air. And to start with, usually you do a loader and an air duct. And that will require you to just put an oxygen bottle on the loader, or the crew to put the oxygen bottle in the loader, and it just goes right out in the air duct and disperses in the atmosphere of the ship. I want to rotate this so the oxygen input is next to that pipe circle there to make a short pipe length. Structure pipe and connect the two. So then now it turned blue and we know it's connected. And we'll plug that in. So now what we'll do is we will go to spawn. And this we can just put objects on the screen. So we want some fuel for our engines here. We'll just click here a few places. 5, 6 bottles of fuel. We want some oxygen. We'll put 4 bottles of oxygen up here. It's a small ship. We don't need much. FTL charge. We're going to need those. I haven't put the FTL drive in yet. I'll just put them right up here for right now. Every jump you make consumes 1 FTL charge. Okay. Food and water. Should go ahead and add some here while we're on the screen. So up here is a welfare timer. Right now it's not ticking because we don't have anybody on the ship. But once we have people on the ship, this timer is going to start counting up to 600. And this is seconds, so 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes, for every person you have on your ship, you will consume 4 food and 20 water. So if you have 10 people on your ship, that's 40 food and 200 water. And it adds up if you have a lot of people. If you're transporting a lot of passengers, they will consume the resources as well. Not to mention oxygen, which I have not figured those numbers out. Not tried to yet. So anyway, food. We'll put 6 canisters of food on here. It gives us 600 food. And water goes by thousands per bottle. We'll put 9 of these in. Way more than enough. Especially since we'll just start up with a handful of crew members. Okay, so we got supplies. I got things. Now we need some crew to start putting things in, and then we'll add some more stuff. So under equipment is the docking port. So you attach this to your ship, and once you attach it on the screen here, the shuttle will come out and bring some crew to your ship. So go ahead and put them in there, and immediately we get this green line showing up as a shuttlecraft is coming. Here we are. And he's going to dump some people into our ship here. There we go. 5 guys, and they're going to start doing the chores. So he's putting the fuel canister in. You see the reactors fueling up. The tank is filling up as well. When the reactors come online, they'll start powering the ship and its systems. This guy put an oxygen bottle on the air duct. And when this is powered up, it'll start spinning. You'll see a little graphic spin. Yep, a little fan spin. So it's putting O2 into the air. Batteries are charging. So we click on debug to get out of this menu here. And click on power grid. Okay, so if you're not aware, you get your reactor, your batteries when you have them in the middle, and then everything that consumes electricity on the right. So the battery works as a buffer between your reactor and everything else in your ship. So what's useful for the battery is it gives you instant power. The reactor takes time to spool up and down. So let's say you have weapons and the weapons are firing. They consume a lot of power immediately. It's going to draw power from the battery. And this will give time for the reactor to spool up to meet the demand of the power requirements. And if you're over-consuming, then it gives you some buffer before you run out of juice. But batteries are very useful. You can have a few reactors and a lot of batteries to store excess power for things. Okay, so right now we're only using 16 megawatts of power, even though it shows 13 usage here. Another thing you may not be aware of, you can right-click on these bars here to adjust how much power usage you're doing. Right-click to remove, left-click to add. If you turn the engines all the way off, it'll power them down. When you turn back on, they'll recharge in the background, see them charging back up. So that's for all the systems. Right now we're have the minimal, so you're not going to see much of a difference changing these levels. It won't do much. A little hidden feature there. Okay, so our atmosphere has oxygen in it. These guys took off their suits. We go to overlay, atmosphere, everything's green. I didn't show it, but before oxygen was put into the air, this was red X's, and then these are actually bars for each square. Each square has a bar meter in it for how much O2 is in it. And this color green means it's full. We're good. So we'll talk about life support some more. We have our air duct here just pumping O2 bottles into the air. Now we need to be concerned about CO2 scrubbing. So the crew you have will consume oxygen and produce CO2. So we need to remove the CO2 from the air. If it builds up too much, it'll cause a problem and everyone will suffocate. So you want to avoid that. So if we go back to the debug menu, go to equipment, and go to CO2 Scrubber, which is right here. Now in update 2 they just changed this. This will scrub twice as much CO2 as it did before. Let's just put this guy up here. Okay, let's rotate him around because I want the output to be on the bottom here. So for the CO2 scrubber, you go to an air processor or air reprocessor. And let's turn him around too, so the CO2 inlet pipe is at the top. It outputs oxygen, which you need to go to an air duct. And rotate them once. And what I like to do is add a tank to it as well. Small, medium, large, doesn't matter. A tank for buffer, and I'll explain that here in a second. Okay, so now let's go ahead and hook up the pipes for these. So pipe, go for CO2 scrubber output pipe to the input of the air reprocessor. And one thing to note is input pipes are black in the middle and output pipes have a solid color. And you can see the colors here. The solid color goes to input. So if you drag a pipe between the two, then you see this input is now filled in and you know you're connected. So same up here, we drag a pipe down and across, it's connected. And we drag this down here to the tank, and now the tank color port changed to match those, so you know they're all connected in the same gas goes through these, same material. Alright, so cable, we'll plug all these guys in. Guess we got a power line up here against the wall. Okay, so they're charging up. And there's no CO2 showing up on the screen here, but this will start working. There's a little bit in the atmosphere, just so minor. Because there's so few people and it hasn't had a chance to do much. So spitting is doing stuff. Air reprocessor is doing stuff. And the air duct is doing a little bit, and you see a little bit going into the tank. Now the main thing is, yeah, I see some blockage here. The main thing here is that we have, the atmosphere is already full of air because of this right here. So we won't necessarily be able to push oxygen from the air duct in this system into the air because there's no room for it. And you'll have that situation come up. And if I didn't have this tank here, let's just remove that tank. If I just right click or go to equipment, small tank. If I remove this tank, we should start getting errors about blocked, like we were before. Output blocked. Whenever it says blocked or output blocked, it means it can't push material to the next object in the line. Either the pipe's not connected or it can't go out. So if we let this run for a bit, this should start saying blocked. It may or may not. And we'll see. Let's let it go and see what happens. But it should say blocked, and having the air tank there gives you having a small tank gives you a buffer. So if this air duct can't push air out in the atmosphere, it will block these two items from running, and then the CO2 will build up if your scrubber's not running. So by putting a small tank here, or any size tank, it allows the oxygen to build up in the tank and allows the scrubbing to keep happening to keep CO2 out of the atmosphere. I'm just going to go ahead and put it back. It may take too long. So let's talk about the flashing red light at the top. Cabins. So cabins is the habitation deck. Right now we don't have anything here. I click on that overlay, it's blank. If you go to structure and habitation, habitation is just, there's nothing to it, it's just a space. So you do this, and then you have this much habitation, but it's flashing red because you need to connect it to stairs or a ladder to the lower level. So we go to equipment, and I believe in this menu we only have ladder. I think you can buy stairs in the normal game. So ladder, and we'll just put it out here in the middle. We'll put it right here and rotate the arrow towards the docking port. Now you can see the habitation deck is lit up in green above me on the screen. If we go back to structure and click on habitation, you can see now we have 5 out of 14 cabins used up because we have 5 crew, 14 available. So the 14 comes just from the size of this shape. The bigger the size, the more space you'll get. So if I make this bigger, now I have 17 cabins. I'll make it even a little bit bigger. I have 26 cabins. So that's what's going on there. And there's a bug in the game. You might have seen sewage building up, and when I increase the size, the sewage all disappeared. So it's a bit of a bug. So sewage will build up and up and up. There's no penalty for having sewage build up in your ship yet. But there is a process to remove sewage from your ship and make it useful. So let's talk about that. Another part of life support. So sewage starts out with the sewage pipe. And what's important is the sewage pipe has to be placed under the habitation deck. So if you see on the screen this green area here, that's the habitation deck on the second floor. I need to place the sewage pipe in the green area. If I place it out here, it won't pull sewage from the habitation deck. So let's just put it down here out of the way a bit, put it right there. Okay, so sewage pipe is placed. Now the sewage pipe connects to the waste treatment machine to handle the waste. Put that down there, and there's sewage down here on that side. Let's put this up one to make it even. Okay, waste treatment machine creates wastewater. You can read that. So we need a water purifier. And cancel, right click to cancel, rotate. And just align it so I don't have to draw an extra pipe to connect down. So wastewater purifier. Then from the water purifier you go oxygen maker. So oxygen maker, and then from that it goes to an air duct. Now I can either add another air duct here, or I can tie it into this existing tank and line to combine the two. I think in this case I'll just combine the two. So we go to pipe. We've got to draw a pipe from our sewage pipe to our waste treatment machine, from waste treatment to water purifier to the oxygen maker, and then another line from this oxygen output, and we'll just connect it right to the small tank. Now we'll combine these two systems. Now, of course, we need to plug it in so it has power. And connect it to the existing line that is powered. So there, spooling up. Okay, so right here on the waste treatment machine, this blue circle, when this runs, it starts producing compost. So as it treats the waste, you get compost out of it. Right now in Update 2, there's no use for compost. You can sell it at a trading spot. So if you go to trade, you can sell it on this screen once you have enough of it. I think it needs to be 100 in a block or something like that. Maybe not. So right now we already have 2 compost. But once it builds up enough, you can sell it at the trade screen. You don't get much out of it, but it's the only thing you can do with it. I imagine there'll be food at some point in the game where you can grow your own food and you'll use compost for that. It makes sense anyway. And that's it. So as the sewage comes down, it goes through this process to create oxygen and it vents out. So, you got your oxygen maker splitting water into hydrogen oxygen, but there's no path for hydrogen yet. Just like in the air reprocessor, you got taking CO2 and you're just taking the oxygen out of it. There's nothing for, was it carbon? There's nothing for that. So hopefully they will add more to these chains to make more resources out of it that you can utilize. It'll make things more interesting. All right, so now we have basic life support system set up. We're handling sewage, we're handling CO2, we're venting them in the air, and we have a buffer tank for any excess oxygen we have. And we have oxygen bottles to keep the atmosphere topped off. So once these are empty, hopefully this will be enough to keep the system maintained, the ship maintained, but if not, you just need to keep an eye on your O2 levels up here to make sure you have enough oxygen in the ship. So, there we go. Alright, so if we go back to the main screen here, we go to construction and click on storage. Any cargo. So one thing to note is the docking port will only fill up the 8 squares in front of it. So if a shuttle's coming to dock, it'll only load these 8 squares up, even if you have more material. And it won't unload anymore until somebody comes and takes an item away from those 8 squares, and it'll put another item there. If you don't have any storage specified on the ship, they will just leave items here, which is not ideal. So you just click and drag a space for storage or cargo, and they'll put like all this cargo in the ship. So they're going to put all these items in the cargo space that we've designated. But you have all things here. So you have FTL charges, all these items you can make cargo for. So fuel, you can make fuel cargo next to the fuel loader. And so they'll put all the fuel there, water and food. There's food, we can just do like that. And water. And this gets these specific items in their own storage space, nice and easy. And then spacesuits, everyone can put them by the door over here. Okay, so they're going to move all their objects around. One thing I almost forgot, we need the FTL drive installed. So we go to debug menu, equipment, FTL drive. Running out of space. Let's just put him up here. And let's turn him around. So he's got a blue circle in there. That's where they put the FTL pellets or charges, which we spawn some. So let's go back out of the debug storage, go to FTL charges, and we will overwrite this space here for FTL charges. Alright, so they are moving things around, getting organized. I don't know where that sound effect is coming from. You may not be able to hear that. Alright. So if these storage spaces I have like dedicated to water and food, if it overflows, they will put the overflow into the all cargo space. So now our ship is a little more organized with the cargo. And that's it. Now we have a basic functioning ship. We can go out and conquer the galaxy, or at least the first few sectors here. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, click like, subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks everyone. Bye.